Oh, this is all still recording.
Welcome back to another episode of Spoiler Talk,
where we talk spoilers. I'm your host, Kieran.
And I'm Jax. And this week, we spoil The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 3, Chapter 11, The Heiress.
Ah, you got it all out this time. The Heiress, yeah.
So, I fucking love this episode, but let me just straight away pass it on to you. Kieran, did you notice any of the Clone Wars things? How did you like this live-action episode of Clone Wars?
Well, I actually, just jumping off what you're saying there, we had a discussion last night about the Clone Wars. I'm not a big fan of it. I have never gotten into it.
I'm a big fan.
You're a big fan. I've seen some clips on YouTube. I've seen some integral scenes. I know kind of the broad beats and moments because it's been just discussed so much on the internet. But I went back and watched Season 4, Episode 14. Which is a Mandalorian-centered episode.
A standalone episode and Bo-Katan's first episode.
But we'll get into that later.
Oh, yeah.
Just sticking to the Mandalorian stuff.
Yeah.
I thought this may be the best, shortest episode of the show so far. Mm-hmm. It's really succinct and well put together and does a lot and actually gives us a lot of information about our central character, the mythology of that character, the mythology of all kinds of things in this universe, and it's doing for a lot of fans, it's tying a lot of things in together, and it is a very exciting point for the show, just as an episode on its own, where it's going to lead, what it means for way down the line, so many thoughts, but I really want to hear your entire take on the episode, so I loved it. But yeah.
Same. And this episode to me was one that really it started off rocky because I clicked play on Disney Plus and it's like, it's 35 minutes. And I was immediately like, fuck you, Disney!
Again!
Fuck you! What is this? And I actually have a lot of similarities in weird little minute, just for me kind of ways to do with Game of Thrones. And the first one is episode length. It starts off with the season premiere, it's a big 55-minute episode and you're like, oh, that's a good enough length. And then it's just less and less and less. And like Thrones, it's a show that I feel like it doesn't need to have the length. Like this, I didn't feel like it was lacking. Mm-hmm. But straight away, man, 35 minutes, that's not good enough. I checked, I did all the credit stuff. It's 28.5-minute episode. It's a 28.5. That's 2 minutes longer than some Clone Wars episodes. I don't know. So for me, that's starting 2 steps down.
Well, the next shortest episode after this one, I think, is Farm episode from season 1. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure when I ran the quick math in my head, I was like, oh, well, this one's, maybe the second shortest episode of the show.
And I don't know, just straight away, that's really, really disappointing for me. Just because, I don't know, I just want more. I want heaps. But that being said, that's my only criticism of the episode. Apart from that, it's spectacular. This show has started to really... I don't know, we mentioned it last week, but it's got a great opening theme. Mm-hmm. And so it has a great point of cold opening, joke, do a thing. Like last week, it's jetpack gag and he flies up and murders the man with a jetpack and the baby girl's like, and he's like, boom. And this week, it's like, oh. oh, dun, 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 you know, and it's just like, I just remember I was just sitting there on my couch and I'm just like, I didn't even laugh. I was just overwhelmed with the sense of like, this is all for me. This is only for me now. And as well, just that whole, like as soon as the ship's coming in and it's just like, dun, 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 and just the music and the way it's building, I was like, fuck, they're gonna crash or fuck. Oh no, it's just a little fun gag. And then you have the Mon Calamari guy just be like, and he's like, not impressed. And then just straight into it though, like ship gets raised, we meet male frog guy, and that's all kind of wrapped up nice.
I like, she's just standing there looking around, and I'm like, oh, is this gonna get really sad? Are you gonna, whoa, what are we doing? And they just find each other straight away, and it's a sweet little. Actually, you know, I last week we talked about that character being a non-verbal character and how they might have been better off just taking that a step further.
Yeah.
And not having her talk through the droid and really lean into that part of the episode. And it doesn't quite do it here, but I like that relationship's been built enough now where later on he just goes back, drops the baby off. I'm assuming he's got some vague notion of their language now. Maybe he's picked up some things, a little bit of progression. But I like that these characters might come in later on. I felt like we left them in a good spot. And while, you know, Salamander Frog Lady doesn't stay on the Razor Crest and isn't a regular part of the show, I like that character. I like that little adventure they go on over a couple episodes.
Yeah.
Ties up nicely, leads us right into here. What I was really surprised by is just how quickly we go through everything right up until the end, and we're kind of already at the spot I figured we'd be at the end of the season.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, like the first part of this season felt like, oh, we're taking a very long time to get to where we're going. But this episode just shoots us right forward.
As in like the arc of getting Baby Yoda to a Jedi? Is that what you mean?
The central, I suppose you would say that's the main plot point of the show. Well, maybe
at least for this season, we don't know for how long the show.
It's at least the secondary plot point behind just following Mandalorian on his adventures.
I'd say it takes precedent at this point because he's like, every episode he's like, I want to meet some Mandalorians because the Mandalorians will help me get to a Jedi. And so that's kind of the kind of beating heart of what's getting to. And then each episode, and I've seen a lot online of this being the negative, but I actually think I'm really enjoying how they're doing it, where he meets someone, they're like, I'll help you out if you help me out. And it's like kind of, and I see how people see it as a side quest. I see it as just like, they are not just nothing characters. That like he meets them and they're like, sure, I'll help you. I'm actually doing my thing right now. So maybe, you can help for sure, and then maybe I'll help you.
Well, and if he wasn't, this is like at its core a space western. So everyone kind of being, there's no republic where they are here. There's no law. It's just people's own self-interests at the forefront. So if you want something, you got to give me something, you know. And
quid pro quo, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, quid pro quo.
Yeah. I said that
so it's essentially the central ethic of the Mandalorian as a character. I guess he's just out on his own. He's a free spirit, roaming the galaxy, hunting bounties, doing his thing, doing kind of whatever
he needs to do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which I love.
I'm really liking that. All right, so we start off, and this episode is essentially set at Trask, the fishing village. I really like this setting. I also really like the idea that, like, all right, so we're doing a fishing setting. What aliens we're going to use? And they're like, well, the fish ones, we're going to use the Admiral Akbars. I know they're not called that, but I'm going to call them that. So we've got a bunch of Admiral Akbars, and then we've also got a bunch of, like, squid face guys. And I just feel like we've come so far that you've got, like, 5 or 6 squid guys on screen, and they're, like, talking and interacting and doing stuff. And their squids are just, like, their little tentacle things are just there. One of them cocks his gun with his squid.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Very cool. It's just like, and it cocks the gun while he's holding it there. And I don't know. I just thought the vibe and the look of like the little town and our kind of 2 races that we get, I really enjoyed. And I was so shocked when he like tried to kill Baby Yoda. Like we're on the fishing boat and I'm like, the boat from the trailer, the one bit in the trailer I remember. And I'm like enjoying the jiggle.
Again, just tying back to season 1, you know, you're going to be a target with this armor, and just really every situation he gets into now,
people want to fuck him over because of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's either like, there's gonna be something more to this, and it's whether they're gonna get fucked over, whether some insane creature is going to get thrown into the mix. Who knows what it's going to be, but there is a real just constant sense of tension in this show. Wherever he goes, every new planet is a new set of dangers, a new cruiser people who just see value in what he's walking around all over his body. And I love that even the Mandalorians aren't sure of the Mandalorians, and they don't know where they are, and they're all sparse and in hiding and everywhere. So the central kind of, expedition of the show, finding the Mandalorians, is like, well, no one really knows who they are, and even the Mandalorians who are Mandalorians don't agree on what a Mandalorian is and don't know where all their brethren are. And you just have to kind of coast around the galaxy being like, you seen any Mandalorians?
And they're all wearing the same armor, this Beskar armor. But it's, So, just before we get to the new Mandalorian characters, because I think once we hit on that, I have a lot to say. It's almost the only thing, but just the one thing. You were mentioning, like, are we going to meet a bunch of, like, a crew that don't like us? And what the Beskar do? Are we going to meet a big monster? I love in this, they're like, hey, look at this big monster. Trek, we're monsters too! And it's just like...
Knocks baby
and when he knocks him in, though, I could not believe that. And there's that shot where he just gets swallowed up. And it's like, I'm not an idiot. I know Baby Yoda's not going to die. But it really got me into a spot of just like... I was immediately like, these guys better fucking die fucking quick.
Do you know what I was actually sad about was the realization that there's this saying that you die once when you die, and then you die for the last time when the last person speaks your name. The last time someone speaks your name is your second death.
Oh my God.
It's like the last time. Quite a dark thought, but if we are taking that kind of that idea, Quill died in season 1, but Quill was a man who built things with his hands and put things together, and he built Baby Yoda's carriage. And that thing gets ripped apart and destroyed. So for me, it was like, the last thing Quill gave to them is gone. I was actually kind of devastated when the Mandalorian just ripped it open, even though it was crushed like a tin can. I thought, Quill built that. I love Quill. Everyone's forgotten about Quill.
That's really sad. I'm like,
because IG-11 that he reprogrammed, you could say he built in a way.
Yeah, no, for sure. Gone. But then he dies.
So I don't know. Moment of sadness.
That's a really nice. I was just like, oh my God, there's more Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Another thing, just real quick, because I know I'm going to forget once we proper get into the Bo-Katan stuff. Episode 2 of season 1. They fucked the ship up. Episode 2 of season 2, they fucked the ship up. Episode 3 of season 1, a bunch of Mandalorians come and they're like, we're here to save you, Boba Fett. I mean, Mandalorian.
And again.
And then a bunch of Boba Fett save Boba Fett again. And it's like, I don't know, just episode 3 again. And I was like, I don't know. Are we going to get a farm episode next week?
Yeah.
Are we going back to Tatooine episode 5? Is Moff Gideon going to have a double part at the end of the season? It will.
Let's give some props to Bryce Dallas Howard, though. This is her return to directing the show after the farm episode.
Night of a goddamn day, man.
Yeah, this is really great. Big step up for her. It makes me think, she's actually got more to offer here than what we initially thought. Maybe it was just the episode that she got in the first season.
She got given the worst episode of the season, so she did the best she could. I mean, I think now, just looking at it in terms of directing, I don't know, episode 2 of this season, when it came up with the credits, I was like, Peyton Reed. I was like, this is kind of like it's a bit lighter. This is the Ant-Man of the Mandalorian series. I'm not surprised by seeing that. When this episode ended, it said Bryce Dallas Howard. I was like, good as.
Yeah.
It was really exciting to see that she's done a step up. Like, no one can say the other episode last season is better. I really, on the second watch, I didn't mind it that much. But I think it is a step down for the whole season. My only criticism is I literally just wanted more minutes. That's the best thing you can ask for. And I think the best thing this show is doing by being short and concise and brief is that there is no fluff. We didn't need 7 minutes of Baby Yoda being like, oh my God, those eggs I ate are actually living things. And I got that in 4 seconds. He's looking at the eggs. Yep. And then the egg gets birthed and he's like, oh, life.
There's not one line about the eggs in the episode. It's all just visually conveyed in little moments with them playing at the end.
He just plays at the end. He's like, he takes him away. And there's like, I don't know. I thought that was just a really nice counterbalance to the
horrific deaths that he's been witnessing.
I meant the idea that he tried to commit genocide without realizing what he was doing. But then, I don't know, I got the sense that Baby Yoda was learning. It's like, I ate that thing, but that actually thing was birthing into a thing. And I don't know, I think if they said, like, if the frog lady, it's on subtitles, being like, Baby Yoda, have you learned your lesson? Don't eat things that are alive. I'd be like, oh, just shut the fuck up. Whereas just having it all just kind of there, and I took what I wanted from it, I really liked having them there. And I think last episode I was like, I felt more like this episode was wrapped up in a nice package, because it felt a bit undone at the end. Like, just, was that the end of an episode? If we'd had the frog people, get there and meet up and that's done, chapter 2. Whereas I actually really like how each episode, like episode 2 starts and he's still just on that speeder from last epi, and everything's really... So this was a beautiful planet, and then the ship it's still crocking and then straight on.
A really riveting kind of landing sequence where the ship is falling apart and coming down into the atmosphere, and then he just has to fire the thrusters right at the last second and just propels them up enough, and then boom into the water.
It's so good.
I gotta say, there's a shot right after that of the crane lifting it out of the water and dropping it on, and
so good.
The way the ship rocks and the water, the fluid simulations coming out of the engine, flawless, just absolutely like visual effects porn.
And I loved that, just like that crane thing that's bringing him out feels very real worldy, except that it's also kind of a Star Wars leg walker thing and moving, and just everything about it. I was like, this is pretty spectacular. You mentioned a lot about how the Mando really proves that he's a good pilot. What I love is that he's proving he's a good pilot. But you know what? If Frog Lady wasn't there, he crashed.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's like, he doesn't go, you saved my life, Frog Lady, because you pulled the... But he's like, do the thing with your... Like, he doesn't have a hand to do that. So he would have had to get his foot up and done it. But I don't know. I'd
be like, Baby Yoda, use the Force.
No! Yeah, Baby Yoda's like... Yeah. I only get to a season vintage, and it's not yet. Yeah. I don't know.
All right, let's get to the
Bo-Katan of the thing. Yes?
Yes.
So he gets saved, and it's like, she's like, hold my hand, like your flashbacks with the other Mandalorians. He's like, oh, reoccurring themes.
Oh, well, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even make that connection, but they have very similar armor. It's like blue. I imagine, are they of the same sect or guild or whatever?
So what is revealed in this episode, and what I thought was easily the most interesting element of it, is that if you've watched the Clone Wars, a huge TV series, and I know you're not a big fan, but in that there's Mandalorians scattered throughout. They take their helmet off all the fucking time. And this was 35, 40 years ago or whatever. And they take their helmets off and they just chat and all that stuff. But there's Mandalore, the race, and the planet of Boba Fett.
And what sounds like some type of royal system of people.
Yes. So in the Clone Wars, the Mandalore is run by this lady called Duchess Satine. And she's an ex-girlfriend of Obi-Wan.
I hate that, but go on.
It's spectacular.
It's not.
You don't like that he had a
not at all.
Fling in
but sure. I don't want to get into it, but keep going. Yeah.
So there's some really like good stuff in that, and she's like the leader, and her sister is Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan appears in that one episode you've seen in Clone Wars. She appears part of Death Watch.
Yeah.
Death Watch is
terrorists.
They're terrorists. In her first. When I rewatched all of Bo-Katan's episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels, it's like 9 and then 2 in Rebels, and just all yesterday, just goes like, I remember her, but I don't remember, she's in quite a lot.
So is Satine the Queen not a terrorist?
No, she's not a terrorist, and she's like, Mandalore will not be part of the Clone Wars, we're a neutral system, we won't fight. And then the Death Watch are like, we're bloody Mandalore, we're fighters, we should fight.
They seem to hate Count Dooku by the sound of it from that episode, so...
There's a whole lot of stuff. Sure. I just won't get into all of that. That's just stuck with the Clone Wars stuff, It doesn't really matter to hear. But her first appearance is as a terrorist, part of Death Watch, and they just burn a village in their first episode of Clone Wars. They just fucking burn all of them. It's really interesting. But she goes through an arc in her show, and it's really fascinating kind of seeing this thing, because in the Clone Wars, these Mandalorians are nothing like the Mandalorians we meet. They seem like a weird cult. But when the Mandalorians started, I was like, all right, cool. They're doing this.
These are Mandalorians.
They're going to explain that difference. And the helmet thing's the main thing, because they don't take their helmets off.
So the explanation from the episode is that they're religious zealots. That are devoted to bringing back the ancient ways of the Mandalore.
And she calls them a children of the Watch.
Yeah.
And she was part of the terrorist organization known as Death Watch. And they're the bad guys. And Death Watch it's kind of seems like Death Watch was a subgroup and they'd kind of become these children of the Watch. But even then, Death Watch didn't have a don't take your helmet off. So what it seems like has happened is when the Great Purge happened and Mandalore got destroyed, a subgroup of Mandalorians, maybe Death Watch at that time, who Bo-Katan isn't a part of at that point. She's leading Mandalore. It's kind of, I don't know, it's fascinating because now it seems that he's part of this weird offshoot cult that aren't the main Mandalore. And so, I don't know, I just found that really, really interesting.
We also have to deal with the fact now that there are more than three, but three central Mandalorian characters that need to be dealt with this season that are completely separate to each other in their ideology or sect or religion, or in Boba Fett's case, none of the above. It's just my dad's armor. So it's interesting that there are all of these different parts of this, and
so there's going to be more, I'd imagine. Like from having
I gotta say, this is enough for now. Can we just deal with this for a while? If they introduce any more, I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, fourth fucking Mandalorian thing.
You're probably gonna have issues because I think
stick with this.
There's 5 main characters of Rebels, and I love Clone Wars. Rebels is garbage. I've watched all of it though, but there's 5 main characters. One of them is like a teenage Mandalorian, and she wears the Mandalorian armor, but it's all graffitied, colourful. She's called Sabine, and she carries the Darksaber for a bit. And the double-parter start of the final season of Rebels, Season 4, is a double-parter called Heroes of Mandalore. And at the end of that episode, she gives Bo-Katan the Darksaber.
Who then loses it at some point.
During, presumably, the Great Purge. And then...
Wait, isn't this Rebels?
Yeah, but Rebels happened...
Way after the Purge.
No, I don't think it will.
Huh?
Because Rebels would be in between episode 4 and 5. No, in between 3 and 4, sorry. 5 years before 4. And this is now all the way after. I think the Great Purge happened somewhere there.
Oh, so it didn't happen during the Clone Wars?
No, because the Clone Wars ends and we, like, in the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, we see Mandalore and, like, Maul and all that stuff, and it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Mandalore's still, like, a thing. So that's, like...
I just assumed...
So essentially, you watch all her episodes, and there's a moment where she's just like, Mandalore! And she's holding the Darksaber. The next time we see her, she's in this episode being like, where's my fucking saber? And he's like, you know he's got it, bitch. And, like,
if you're asking, you already know. Man in Black from Lost.
So I guess what I really want to discuss, which I think would be the most fascinating, is that watching this, I was like, holy shit, it's a character from Clone Wars. Like, I just saw it. You've not seen Clone Wars. You weren't aware of that. How did you find this new character introduction? Did you feel like it was a character from another thing? Did it just feel like a great introduction?
I already knew. Because I have all of these things, these popular things from Clone Wars have just been discussed on the internet ad nauseum. Mm-hmm. So I know the basic gist of everyone's arc and all these characters and all of these.
Were you aware of Bo-Katan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because she's pretty major, but she's not like Maul or Sabine or Satine.
But you know who I do know about is Katie Sackhoff, who is the actress who plays Bo-Katan, because she is Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, one of my favorite characters from one of my favorite shows ever. So when I saw she was announced in this season of Mandalorian, which we discussed in our season 1 podcast, go check it out. I immediately was like, who's Bo-Katan? And that probably led me down more of a rabbit hole. And I was like, okay, she's a Mandalorian.
Honestly, you were probably more reminded than I was. Because I've watched the series, but I don't know. Yeah.
As soon as she showed up, I was like, she's reprising. We spoke about it. I said she's reprising her role from the Clone Wars. She was the voice actor of this character.
But it's like the Timothy Oliphant thing. It's like, we discussed it, but then I'm watching the episode and it happens. I'm like, it's Boba! And I'm just in, and I've just kind of washed away the things, because honestly, I'm just so in. Like, when she rocked up, it was just like, oh my god, the new Mandalorians. I'll just call them Bo-Katan's crew. She's got this incredible, like, techno sound. There's just a weird techno vibe sound they've kind of implemented that I think is mostly this season. Could be wrong, but I definitely got the sense when the X-Wings were leaving, and then when I Googled, they're like, it's the March of the Resistance, but all techno-y or whatever. I'm like, oh, cool. That's probably why I'm getting...
Ludwig on the strings.
Yeah. But there's this sound when she rocks up. Like, and what I love is that they just rock up and they're just like, bam, 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 and it's just done. Like, when they come and kill the Fishman the second time, they land. She's like, it was fucking me. 6 shots, bam, 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 and then everyone
They're
drops.
an unstoppable force. It's the Mandalorians. Like, watching a crew of them together, you really get a sense of, like, oh man, no one can stand up to these guys. And who knows how many we're going to end. Remember last week, I said, I would love if we got a Star War at some point. And you said, how would that Star War take place? Do you want this or this or this? This episode made me realize, Mandalorian Star War. This is the Mandalorian. There are many sects of Mandalorian. Let's get a Star War with the Mandalorians. Has that ever been done in the history of Star Wars?
Every 4 episodes of Clone Wars, but apart from that,
so Mandalorians are warring with each other. Is that the central thing of Clone Wars?
Every action set piece in this episode, that just with lots more Mandalorians.
No, I mean have Mandalorians fought each other?
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of in the Clone Wars, in the final episodes of season 7. There's some Mando versus Mando stuff. But I've just got to say, man, and I really didn't get the sense in episode 3 of last season when we get them all, and I was pretty excited. I'm like, this is pretty cool. But it wasn't like that step up where I'm like, holy fuck. I've watched a fuck ton of Mandalorian stuff this week, after this episode, and there's a lot of Mandalorians flying on jetpacks, shooting and stuff. There's even a scene in Rebels where she's Bo-Katan is to the main character, he's like, we don't have any weapons. She's like, a Mandalorian with a jetpack is a weapon. And then she does the thing that the Mandalorian does against Moff Gideon in the finale, and she gets on the X-Wing and on the TIE Fighter, and she's flying on it with a jetpack and stuff. And it's really cool, but it's animated, so I'm like, that's fine. This episode, when they all stormed the stormtrooper thing, and they were there's the ship is flying off in the distance, and it's really far away, and then suddenly it's just 4 jetpacks, and it's just I don't know, them landing on the ship and fighting and stuff. I really feel like you get a sense, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. The costumes just look better in live action. Seeing them in live action, she looks so good. I mean, I've never loved the Rebel stuff, but in Clone Wars, she looks cool. But I don't know, live action, the Mandalorians just really seem better. I don't know.
There's something really, really funny just hearing you say that when the Mandalorians arrive on that ship and they start just wrecking stormtroopers. I don't know what it is, but it's from playing video games of Star Wars video games like Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast and things like that. There's a force choke ability that you acquire in some of these games. And what you can do is pick a stormtrooper up and then throw him off a balcony. and he'll... But the muffled stormtrooper scream is just the funniest thing. I don't know what it is about the sound effect they put on, coupled with a man screaming as he's been thrown out of a window, that just, I don't know, ticks something in my brain from adolescence playing those video games. It's fucking hilarious. Because I just remember force choke, throw stormtrooper. I put, it just brought back those memories, when the pilots of the Empire ship, Man in Black from Lost, and 2 other guys.
Yes.
Yeah, nice little appearance from that guy.
He's the best.
I've forgotten his name, but...
Yeah, it's the Man in Black from Lost. Or War from Supernatural Season 5.
Titus Welliver.
Is that actually his...
I think so.
I apologise, Titius. That's a spectacular name. What is he, from Rome? What the fuck? But Rome back when it was Rome, not now or whatever. From the show Rome. Weird, Titius.
Titus?
Oh, Titus.
That's just still weird.
Still weird, yeah. Still weird. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but it's something weird like that. Yeah.
His name's just Ben Graham. Just whale.
But you see a stormtrooper splat on the window and then come to it. I don't know. Seeing the Mandalorians just storm that ship and with such technical proficiency just take everyone out. There's even a joke before they do it. They're like, stormtroopers can't hit anything. They know they're going to just dominate this ship.
Yeah, there's the bit where they're all just sitting casual and they're like, we're going to fucking kill that ship. Don't even worry.
Yeah. And I think what they were doing here is just laying the groundwork for how incredible this crew of soldiers, space knights are.
Space knights, yeah.
So that later on, when we get a bunch of Mandalorians come head to head, we're really going to feel the stakes of whatever oncoming battle is going to happen. Because I think what we're setting up for here is the Empire and whoever's opposing them, and things are going to come to a head at the end of this season. And Moff Gideon on the Imperial side with the Darksaber. And obviously now we have Bo-Katan with a vested interest directly in that character. We're going to come head to head. I think Boba Fett's going to be on his team, and then Mandalorian and the Bo-Katan crew on the other side. And we might get an interesting Mandalorian on both sides. I don't know. Yeah. Who knows where it could go? Very exciting.
Because the thing I found really interesting when she kind of was like, I'm doing this mission, I'm getting my sword back, I need like, and what I loved is in this episode, she totally sums it up where she's getting this family heirloom, she needs to get this sword back, and we know the villain's got this. So just for Mandalorian, you said she's mysterious, she's intriguing, but she's part of actual Mandalore. She's like, I'm part of Mandalore. I was, I'm all this stuff where it's like, okay, that's, and he's like, we can never go back to Mandalore. It's cursed. It's bloody Mount Doom or whatever. She's like, shut up. No, you're an idiot. And I found that really interesting. It's like,
well, he's been indoctrinated into a cult.
Just a weird religious side cult that's like not a part of actual Mandalore culture. And in the context of the show, I don't know, it was just, I got such goosebumps when she was like, took the helmet off and he's like, rah, and she's like, no. And
then he just leaves?
Yeah. And I love how the other guy's like, oh, he's bloody one of those weird fucking cult terrorist guys. And he's like, whoa. And he just leaves. He's kind of, I don't know, it's like, I know this. I've watched Clone Wars. I've watched it 100 times. I just went, I don't know, they're just going to do something different. They're not going to make it all integral. But that episode you watched of Clone Wars where she's introduced, that was directed by Dave Filoni. We've got Dave Filoni on this, and I think that it's all going to be really interesting. I don't know. The season 7 finale of Clone Wars, I thought was really bad at the time, but it's actually got her in it. And it's like he's decided to put her there, and now she's here, and the last time we see her in Rebels, she's holding this sword, and the way it's all like, okay, you can just look through her episodes and you're getting this arc. Well, now she's come into it. If she just appears again every now and then, just on this journey to get the saber, to recreate Mandalore, and how the Mandalorian being this weird kind of offshoot baby of like a weird cult, but maybe the last of that cult now. I don't know. I was suddenly like, this is a fascinating universe where it's like I was like, how many seasons are we getting? How many times can he be like, I'm looking for Baby Yoda's father. Have you seen Baby Yoda's father? It's a Jedi. What's a Jedi? I don't know. One thing. Do you think it makes sense that he knows what May the Force be with you is, but doesn't know what a Jedi is? Because my brother watched the second episode, and he's like, what the fuck is with that line?
Does he not know what a Jedi is?
No, because in this episode, they're like, what do you know about Jedi? He's like, I don't know what a Jedi is. Tell me. And she's like, I won't tell you.
Does she?
Yeah, they have that scene where she's like, what do you know about Jedi? And he's like, nothing. What can you tell me? And she's like, I'll help you.
I mean, nothing in the sense that, like, I think people are vaguely aware of what the Jedi are, but nobody's, like, they were all killed when he was a child, so... But the Force, may the Force be with you, like, that's the New Republic motto.
That's what I said. I said it was kind of like a rebel thing, and they don't even know that it's, like, fully just, like, a Jedi thing, because we're just...
And there's, like, one Jedi at the moment, you know? And there were no Jedi for ages, as far as he's aware, so for I think that makes sense.
No, I'm just curious.
May the Force be with you is a broader term in the Star Wars universe, I think.
I took it as that as well, because I feel like Han Solo types will say that, but maybe not be like, oh, that's a Jedi thing. It's like, it's more of like the Rebels thing, and almost like an idea of hope. Just thought that was interesting. But I think what this show is going to teeter on the line of, because I think Rebels do the worst of this, where Rebels' best episodes when Maul rocks up, and it's Obi-Wan, they're not the main characters. The best episode is 16 minutes of our shitty main character Ezra just stumbling around in the desert with droids. Whatever the fuck happened, I don't even remember. And then 5 minutes of good stuff with the character. I don't want Ahsoka to be used like that. I don't want Bo-Katan to be like, just in. I want them to have arcs where if you watch their bits, it feels like a cohesive story. Yeah.
I think with how they've constructed it and where we're building, how we've built to Ahsoka, and now leading into the next episode, we're really only one adventure away at most from her. Maybe we'll spend the next episode, little skirmish on the planet, and then find her at the end. But I don't think it's going to be... Potentially, we just see her at the beginning of the next episode, It's going to be very interesting now to see where it all goes.
Yeah.
What her take is on him and the situation. I don't want another... As much as I like what they did with Luke's character in The Last Jedi, I've got a feeling that just with where her character has been left off, that she's going to take a very similar stance of, I don't want to be involved, I don't want to do this. And it's going to be 3 episodes of her having to, come around on it all, and now I'll help you. And then in the season finale, she comes back and ignites the lightsaber and fights the good fight. And come on, fucking just join them and go do stuff and be an interesting character and fill in some information for the Mandalorian about your past and make it more interesting, If it's just that again,
Yeah, I don't want her to be Luke Skywalker bitter, but she's very...
But it would also kind of make sense with where her character's
She's very, like, anti the Jedi. At the end of Clone Wars, she, like, leaves her lightsaber in the snow. But then in Rebels, she's like, I got lightsabers and they're thin! Woo-boo-boo! You know, so they can do whatever. I'm just, like... I'm so nervous just for her character, because I just feel like... I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, I was like watching Bo-Katan stuff that she's in, like, Clone Wars. It's like, I'm watching this character who was an animated character in 2 shows, now live action, who in this episode I'm watching is interacting with a character who was live action, who is now mostly an animated character. Like, Maul has so much more content as an animated character than he does in the movies. And
yeah.
I was suddenly like, this is kind of fascinating that to watch this one character that's appeared here, I'm watching all this other content and I'm like...
It's a reverse Maul.
Yeah, and I'm really kind of like going, you know what? This is all kind of working a lot of the Mandalorian plot because of Jon Favreau actually voices one of the main guys. He's actually just there as well. I'm just like, this whole universe that Dave Filoni's kind of sub-created on this like TV show level and how they're all kind of intersecting, it's like, I don't know, it's really interesting. And I'm hoping that it's going to, you know, work. But the one thing I'm kind of curious of, since you haven't really seen so much of Ahsoka stuff and you're not really invested in her, would have you loved, because he's looking for a Jedi, would have you loved the idea that they just go, fuck any of that other shit. We're going to give you a new Jedi, a different Jedi, a Jedi we're creating the way that we've taken Mandalorian, who's essentially, he looks like Boba Fett, but now he's a whole new character. So we've got this amazing backstory with the droids and being indoctrinated, and now he's part of a cult part of Mandalorian. You know, they're doing so much work that if he was Boba Fett, they couldn't have done, but we still get the look. A Jedi is kind of a look as well. They got a lightsaber, they got a moral set of code. You know what I mean. A Jedi's going to be a certain mold. Would have you liked them to do a new character? Or are you pretty happy with them bringing in Ahsoka?
I would like a new character, but it wouldn't fit with what we know about the universe. In the setting we're in now, 5 years post-Empire, we know there's one Jedi. It's Luke. That's it. He's the only Jedi left. There's no one else. Vader was the... Return of the Jedi is called Return of the Jedi for 2 reasons. Vader and Luke. You know? And it's both. It's the Return of the Jedi. It's Anakin's redemption and Luke rising to the spirit of a Jedi. And both things simultaneously happening.
While Ahsoka sits in this forest land.
She's not a Jedi. She's just a force-wielding individual who has a lightsaber. But she does not live the creed or the ethic or the whatever. So it's like Boba Fett. Boba Fett is not a Mandalorian, but he's wearing the armor. She's the same thing for a Jedi.
I think she almost like abides by the rules kind of more than the Jedi do, because they're all like she leaves because she's like, what about being nice and not being a cunt and all the politics of it all, which is interesting, but it's also like her being like, Obi-Wan, you're wrong. I'm like, no, I love Obi-Wan. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I'm so scared. Because I like seeing Bo-Katan, I was like, this worked really well. She doesn't look like an animated character brought to life, even though I got that sense. Because I was like, she looks like someone. And then when I Googled it, I'm like, fuck, that's why it's such a... I don't know, I'm just so scared of seeing Ahsoka. Will it be next episode?
I'm not scared, because I love Rosario Dawson, and I think she's going to play it brilliantly, and I think they're going to do some great makeup stuff. I really like... I remember she was just like a small character in like one of the a few of the Netflix series of... Daredevil and Luke Cage and all those.
That's all I've seen her in, so I actually don't like her. Because all I've seen her is in bad TV.
I found her immediately likable and engaging in every single one of those shows she appeared in. She was like immediately I'm like, oh, it's her again. I really fucking like... What was she? She was like the
nurse character.
Yeah, night nurse.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know, just something about her presence on screen, just immediately I was like, I'm back in. I really like, she's just a very likable presence that I think she's going to be able to bring to this character.
She's been in any movies?
Heaps of movies.
Oh, yeah, but like any that like, just...
Not off
she in one of the Men in Blacks? Was that not?
I think so, yeah. And some Kevin Smith stuff, I think, if you've seen any of that.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's just those Marvel shows. I don't know. I feel like each time a new one came out, I just retroactively was like, do I even like the first season of Daredevil? Like, I don't know. So for me...
All those Marvel Netflix shows for me just was 100% on the writing. I never thought... the performers are bringing their A-games. These are these are the people who should be playing the defenders, maybe with the exception of Iron Fist. But everyone else there, I was like, these are the people you want. I'm glad they cast these people. You're just squandering them with terrible material.
Yeah.
It was like, every time Daredevil, Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox is on screen, I'm engaged because he is a fantastic performer. But then they write the worst material for him because they never figured it all out. And it's like the actors are elevating this garbage material to a point that I kept watching those shows long after I would any other with, terrible CW actors. Those I immediately turn off because the writing is terrible and the performers are terrible. The Netflix ones, I stayed on board way too long because the performers were just engaging me so much.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm like the opposite of CW. I can watch so much trash because it's like, it's not trying to be anything but what that is. Whereas Daredevil feels like it's trying to really elevate above, but I never get that. What's really funny though, this episode's really short. All those Marvel shows, if they had been 20 to 25 minute episodes, tight, condensed, and then 8 for the season, I think they would have all done really well. Because it would have been like this. There's no fluff to this episode. Its B-plot is like 3 seconds, like cutaway scenes, and it's all there.
So the more Mandalorian you watch, is your takeaway that keep doing these short episodes or give me longer?
No, give me fucking longer. But if you don't have any dialogue, if you don't have anything to put in, I guess
even with how much you're enjoying this season?
They should be making them longer. They should all be longer. But then I guess all I'd want more is just more Bo-Katan and Mandalorian talking. But if they're really like keeping it, like not giving us too much because later on she's going to come back and they're going to develop it all further. I don't know. It just depends on how long they want to do this show for as well.
I think...
do they want this to be a 3 or 4 season or are they on for 7 seasons? Because then maybe just keep them all shorter. Make them all great, make them all short, and then we'll always kind of want more.
Well, what this episode was kind of missing in a sense was the sense of kind of threat and stakes, I suppose, is that the Mandalorians in this episode are such a dominating force that there's no end of Act 2 down in the dumps part. It's just wiping everything out continuously the whole way through. And if we were just taking this, which we are right now, as an episode of television on its own, I'd like maybe the end of Act 2 beat in there, where, and it's almost there. It's like they go up to there's a hallway part, and the stormtroopers have really big guns, and they're like, there's too much firepower, we can't do it, and it's over in a second.
Mandalorian's like, oh, by the way, you have Beskar armor, but my Beskar armor is better than your Beskar armor. So he just walks out there, and it's all dramatic, and I'm really into it, but he's just like, just taking shots to the head.
What they maybe
needed... He could have just run all the way in and punched them all.
What the episode could have used is just a little side boss, like a proto-Captain Phasma in some metal armor, runs out, takes on a couple of Mandalorians. Yeah. They fuck him up and then continue. But just a little beat in there like that. No, more than a beat. Just a moment where we feel like, oh, the Mandalorians have someone up to their level. All right, it's all good. Carry on. Because they just steamroll through that entire ship with no effort.
Kind of the point though. We're going to reintroduce this character.
That's what I said earlier.
Yes.
We're doing this now. Now you know what these characters are capable of. So now maybe when they come head to head with Moff Gideon, Boba Fett, the stakes are there. We know this is going to be a good fight.
If there's 3 of them versus 100 stormtroopers, we'll be like, okay, maybe they're, you know what I mean?
Where's this going to go? Yeah.
Oh, and the one thing I mentioned before, but just that dun 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 dun, the dun 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 dun, that music, it just kicks in. They land and it just goes dun 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 dun, and bam, and it's just
music
done.
This season has fixed all our complaints from season 1. Yeah, every episode, there's maybe less so last week's, but episode 1, episode 3, there have been some really, really highlight musical moments, I think.
And even 2, I think the music that kicks in when the X-Wings take off, I was like,
that's
stand out. And you know what, I googled it and it's March of the Resistance from the other movies, but done like a techno-y, I don't know terms. It's more electronic or whatever.
I'm glad.
And there's a fantastic moment, and I actually didn't mention it, but Baby Yoda goes like, this is in episode 2, but Baby Yoda's like, boop, 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 and he just walks up to the little alien eggs, and that music, I listened to that. It's this really beautiful kind of soft, just and that's a great little 2-minute bit as well. So even bits that aren't standout, where I'm listening to the cowboy song and then the Tusken Raiders, Arabian Nights kind of, and I tried to sum it up, but it sounds like the desert music from the Mario games in the best way. It's just got this beautiful sans-like quality where I'm like, I could just it just feels like it makes sense with it. But all the music's stunning. It really is. Another thing I just remembered. Baby Yoda has now 2 alien references in 3 episodes. Episode 2, there's like the eggs, and he opens it up, and it's very reminiscent of the
with the queen
in Alien, and just having and he eats it, which is different than it coming out and getting them. But then in this episode, he's eating soup, and a little fucking face crawler comes and gets his mouth, and it looks really similar to Alien. And I'm just like,
and then at the end of the episode, another squid thing. What's going on?
So the squid thing makes sense at the end of this episode because just they're on the squid planet.
For a moment, I was like, did that Mon Calamari leave a fucking booby trap? That's what I thought, because he's like staring up at the ship, and Mandalorian's like being racist. He's like, fucking Mon Calamari. It's essentially being like, damn,
whatever.
Insert race here.
Yeah. Actually, this is a great kind of where I'm at with this show. I was having the greatest time. Like when she said, "Go find Ahsoka Tano," I literally just went, "Whoa, fuck! We're here!" Like I don't want to see her, but now we're seeing. I got goosebumps. I was so in. But then he gets back on the boat and he's like, "I paid you 1,000 fucking credits." And Fish guy's like, "I'm like a classic car guy. That is classic
string."
It's got fishnets and stuff, and it just looks like someone who's like, fishnets, crabs, put a squid in. It just looks very. I know, I love that. But my feeling was like, I'm loving the Mon Calamari. I love an Admiral Akbar. They look so good. Especially because in the Clone Wars, those fish, it doesn't look good. And there's a 4-parter and I hate it. So they've burnt me. So they've brought me back up. But at the end of the episode, he's getting on the ship and he's like, fucking Mon Calamari, all that stuff. And he gets in and I'm like, wait, fuck. Oh, it's over. 28 minutes. But, sorry, I'll just finish. Because I'm like, hey, oh no, it's over. I don't feel like we didn't get that second act bit. It's like, it's 28 minutes. It feels like 28 minutes. I want 40 minutes at least. Even 55 minutes. But then, the squid's doing the thing, and you're like, oh, Baby Yoda's going to eat it. And he's just like, psh! And he squishes it, and then you see Baby Yoda go, he does a little cute thing, and then I was like, oh, fuck, you know what? I don't give a shit. This is perfect.
And then after that, like an excellent just end shot is the Razor Crest zooming off into hyperspace, and a part of the ship just gets left behind, spiraling in space. And I thought that's great.
So that is an amazing last shot. And I don't know if it's a reference or just unintentionally the same. It's the ending of the movie Serenity, the movie based off the Firefly TV series. And at a certain point, that TV series and that movie was my all-time favorite thing. Just put it on, start to finish, at the best time. And that movie ends where they get back on the ship and they're like, we're all back together again, and it's some sad stuff, but we're all good. And the ship shoots off into the distance, but it's a ragtag kind of, cobbled together ship, and it flies off, and a piece of the thing flies off, hits the camera, and he goes, what was that? And then the movie ends. So I was like, it's like Serenity. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
I can't even remember that.
It's like the same bit, but it's like, I don't know. It's interesting because it is it's a beautiful kind of visual ending. And I thought it was funny that it's like also the same ending to this other thing. This show is spectacular. I think that there's also this really shanty sea village kind of string kind of thing that gets played when the squid fish boys arrive, and then it's playing again and the squid's coming in right at the end. The music's just spectacular. I think he's really stepped it up. The effects look better. I love that there's a little monster in this. We get a big monster, it eats Baby Yoda. We don't really see it, but I'm loving that. I don't know, every episode we had a really big monster. I wonder if they're going to try and get a big monster into every epi. That would be fucking cool.
When it breaches the water, it looked really good.
It looks so good. Yeah. Just not showing it fully and just teeth coming out. It's like, is that like, like a sucker teeth arm thing of like a big thing?
Who knows?
Is it just a snake? Is that all it was? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I love not knowing. I love that he's just like, come look at this big fish we're going to feed. And I'm like, this is so much fun. We're on a boat. What's this fish? Oh, fuck, they're going to kill him. Kill him. And then they've killed it. And then there's a army of Boba Fett's, which I guess we should call, I don't know, the Bo-Katan version. But they're like the Clone Wars Mandalorians. They're like classic.
So, Jax, any final thoughts?
Yes. And this is almost nothing. I told my brother before I was, briefly went to his house and I was telling him this and he was like, didn't even respond. I'm like, well, this is just
That's Tim from Two Brothers, One Pilot.
My other podcast.
Yeah,
where we do pilots. Bloody check it out. We did Auntie Donna.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Let's not get into that, but what a show.
What a show. in this episode, there was like a moment where like we've got a character, the Mandalorian, Mr. Mando, and he has a thing where people go, "This is the way," and he goes, "This is the way," and we understand what that means for him and what he means for that, and what he thinks Mandalore is, and what that line means for Mandalore.
Yeah.
Then this character, who, let me just add, has red hair, she's like, "This is the way," and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, no, no, no," and he's like, "I don't like any of that." At the end of the episode, for sure, they have the "this is the way," and it's all good. But when she first said it, and he's like, "Oh," and double takes, and she's like, "Mm-mm," I was like, that line worked for me almost to the same extent. And I suddenly realized how into this show I just am now, where I was like, holy fuck, this had the same effect that it reminded me of when Jon Snow has "You know nothing, Jon Snow." That's like a thing a character says to him the whole series. Then suddenly this other character rocks up, Melisandre, and she's just like, "You know nothing, Jon Snow." And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And it's the same beat of having this character have this line delivered to them. And it has different context and different meaning, and it shows it different, because in that one it's like, what the how does she know magic? And this one it's like a different sect of Mandalore saying that same thing. But I don't know, I was suddenly just like, holy shit, they've actually done enough work in that first season with things like just "this is the way" and really catchy, interesting, like, you know, mantra lines for whatever, for the creed. Where, like, I don't know, I remember even think I said in our episode about it, that I was like, it's a bit hokey. There's a big one, there's one with horns, and there's the angry one. And I was like, but I don't know, I'm really in, and I'm really like, kind of like, fuck, are they all gone now? Is that cult that raised him, are they all dead maybe? Because we now have new Mandalorians, different Mandalorians. We have Boba Fett, we have potential characters from Rebels. I don't want to bore you with, but you know, there's a lot of sex going on. There's a lot of different Mando shit going on.
But also, what does it mean for him as a character if he gets involved with another sect and comes to maybe believe what they think and their ways of the Mandalorian being, and then he has to go back to his old crew, and are we going to get tension there? Are we going to get, you know, all of these things kind of come to a head? There's so much potential right now, and we say this every week. I say this every week. But the show is just unlimited potential that it regularly will just give us a flash of some real great that we've been waiting a long time to see, or maybe that we have seen delivered in a new and exciting, fresh way. And I can't wait to just see where we go. This season just has so much left to give.
I suddenly just realized that you saying that, I'm like, holy fuck. Season 1, they were like, we'll never be able to show Oberyn Martell's face. Like, we're not getting Pedro Pascal in for episode after episode. You've actually just suddenly created this opportunity for him to, like, go into their kind of Mandalorian style, which is helmet on for fighting because it's a helmet, taken off for talking because look how sexy I am.
Maybe they'll be like, can we spray your outfit blue now?
He's like, get the fuck out of here, cunt.
You join us.
I hope he doesn't like change. I like him as like the silver kind of knight. Like I hope he stays different. Like I like when all 4 of them are running through the smoke. That there's 3. She's got, you know, the cool stuff from Clone Wars or whatever. But he's different. He looks like,
yep.
I don't know. I'm liking his different. And there is something to be said, I think, with having just him. Like I really like just having him as the Mandalorian. Like a soul dude with the Mandalorian outfit, but it's him. And there's all this other shit going on. And it's really awesome to have a bunch of Mandalorians suddenly, but I don't want the show to be like every week 5 Mandalorians kill everyone and do stuff.
No,
I want to have it once to 3 times a season, max. If we're just doing 8 episodes a season, 1 to 3 times a season, Mandalorians can come in and be an element, but I really want the show to stick kind of the idea of this shining knight in Mandalorian costume, alone with a little baby.
But I don't know. Are you saying that? I there's a part of me that agrees, but there's also a part of me saying he started with like a red outfit, and then he developed into that, and then that became a moment. Mm-hmm. You could do that again with something different. Who knows where it could go? I mean, him taking maybe a part of his armor's blue now.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
You know, just every time he adds something, it has meaning. Like there's a few shots where we get a really good look at the
Signia?
The Signia, whatever you call it.
Whatever you call it.
The monster that he fought, that we watched happen, that is a moment for our 2 central characters that means so much now to see that on his arm. Give us more. Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. I would love additions. It's not even about him changing what he actually looks like. It's when envision him, and they do it so well in some of the episodes where it's just him in the desert.
Yep.
It's just him. It's man without a name. His name's Jin Jarano. It's like, fuck that shit. Mando. Because he's a Mandalorian. And that's mysterious. They call him Mando. They don't know his name. Do they? I don't know. I'm sure a lot of them
just
they
not
do.
very forthcoming.
Yeah, I don't know. I just love the idea that people are like, yeah, Mando, because he's a Mandalorian. I don't know what his name is. I don't know. I like that mysterious, I don't know, even when he's with other characters, they can all have a thing, but I just don't want it to be a show where it's like, look at all 6 of us in our Boba Fett outfits. I like him being the single one.
Yep.
And then when you have them all rock up, it's like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
The army's here. Yeah, exactly. And I hope they don't get lost in that. But the one thing, I think I touched on it, but I'm really kind of excited for the fact that we have another Mandalorian in Bo-Katan, who now is specifically out to murder our main antagonist and get his sword back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are we going to get like a Pirates of the Caribbean 2? Everyone's on a spinning wheel being like, I want the key for this reason. And they're all fighting over the Darksaber.
Seems.
Imagine if it could be as good as that, but like Star Wars. I don't
know.
know.
The main character is the least interested in that thing than
which
everyone
would
else.
actually be really interesting.
Yeah.
But like Ahsoka would probably want to get it just to get it away from people who are bad. I don't know. It just there's a lot of potential, and I'm really hoping that this wasn't just a hey, look at me, I'll be back next season again. I hope she's in the finale and coming back and stuff.
Can that Darksaber cut Beskar steel?
I couldn't give you a definitive answer because recording to put on live, but I'd say
Probably,
almost definitely.
Yeah.
It's meant to be as powerful as like a lightsaber, and from what I remember reading yesterday, but it was kind of vague Googling, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. History or whatever. It's like it's all they have. It's not like every Mandalorian had a Darksaber at one point. It's like they had this Darksaber. It was like this important thing. But that could also be wrong. And I can't remember how it was made, but I'm pretty sure it's super powerful, yeah.
The Mandalorians, there's a lot of parallels to the Jedi in that the core philosophy has been around for a very, very long time, and things have segmented, and there's different ideas about what's what. And I mean, the Jedi was an order, so it was a dogmatic society with a very clear power structure and hierarchy. Whereas the Mandalorians have just kind of segmented more and more.
And I think that's because of what's happened, like, as far as, like, the context of the world, they were, like, just, like a species, like a race on a planet, the Mandalorians. And then a lot of shit happens, and then the Empire's done something in the Great Purge. I'd really love a whole epi next season, Great Purge epi, where we fully find out what that was that they did.
I remember Rian Johnson was working on a trilogy of movies, not related to anything, supposedly. Yeah. And I remember hearing that news and feeling very underwhelmed and a little disconnected. And there was a part of me going, I should be excited, because one of my major complaints of Star Wars is that we're spending so much time in what we know already, and let's go and see something new. But now you announce something
kind of thing.
What?
We're kind of delving to lots of Rogue One-y kind of things.
Less Rogue One, actually, and more just the sequel trilogy.
Right, okay,
Rogue One makes sense, because it's like, we're in the era, let's do the things in the era. If anything, I'm like, Rogue One wasn't enough.
Right.
You didn't tap into that era enough for me.
Right.
And then you reshot some stuff and threw it in the film because you forgot to put Darth Vader in your movie. Anyway, let's not get bogged down there.
Yeah.
But the Rian Johnson trilogy was like this weird thing of, I want new, different, interesting stories, but I'm also not interested in it when you announce it because I don't know what they are yet.
Yeah.
But then hearing about all this history, like, Rian Johnson could just go back 1,000 years and a completely different set of Mandalorians, Jedi.
But he could have Mandalorians, yeah.
And he can play in the sandbox of Star Wars and do things completely differently, because you go back 1,000 years, the core things are still there, but everything's a bit different. The societies, the cultures, all of those things can be whatever you want if you're jumping back that far. And now to have this, like, the first time I've heard anyone really say, like, Mandalorians have been around for all this time, and there's an ancient whatever. I'm like, oh, cool. We could really go back far.
Yeah,
I think some video games did that well. Old Republic.
Yeah, I've not really delved into any of that stuff, and I couldn't say if the Mandalorians are part of that, but they are, like, proper, like, ancient, like, war culture kind of, and so that you could do anything, and then you've still got your sweet army of Boba Fett's, where everyone just looks incredible, and they've all got their little jetpacks and stuff, and one of them's got a sword.
Yeah.
So, Bo-Katan, she was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, she didn't have much to do.
She's got amazing fight scenes, but they're brief and quick.
I mean,
and
the
hard
episode's
hitting.
it's
so quick, you don't get a time to... Yeah, and I don't know, it's really exciting, but I hope that we get time to... I don't know, I want a scene where, her, Ahsoka, and bloody Mandalorian sit and just have a 10-minute conversation about stuff. But maybe the show's just not that show that's going to give me those sit down and chew on scenes. But I felt like the first episode did that. We got a whole flashback thing where they're like, during the Death Star exploding, and I was like, oh, this is stuff to chew on. Maybe that's just a brilliant actor bringing a great performance though, above the material. Maybe I don't know.
There is that part where she says to Mandalorian, "You go to the forest planet of blah 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 and find
Officer
the
Tara,
blah and go blah blah and tell him blah 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 sent you." And I just looked at my partner Jessica. She was like, "What the fuck did she just say?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it does kind of sound like someone reading a Wikipedia article."
But that's what it should sound like, Star Warsy. You know,
you could maybe delivered it better because it's just nonsense to anyone who's not really into it. And
I think for that scene, because I know exactly what you're talking about, it's all they did when they wrote that was say, you need to say this paragraph and then you say Ahsoka Tano.
There's a line in The Last Jedi where Rey goes to Luke and he's like, "You need to restore order to the galaxy and bring the Jedi back and do all the things that that's the plot of the last movie that I was told to come and tell you about." And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of...
I know exactly what line you're talking
about.
And he's like, shut up?
And I'm like, shut up, kind of, because it just sounds wrong. Sometimes you can just deliver a set of words in a movie that should make sense in a way where I'm like... And I got vibes like that when she said that bunch of stuff. And then seeing the reaction of my partner, a normie, who's just not into it but loves The Mandalorian, just being like, what the fuck was that nonsense? What the hell is an Ahsoka Tano, you know? And I was just like, it's Rosario Dawson.
I just had this image of someone being like, that's this biscuit I made. Ahsoka Tano. Oh, delicious. Because you're right.
It sounds like a delicious biscuit.
Whereas I literally screamed when I saw it. I was like...
I've got Monte Carlos, I've got Ahsoka Tano's.
But you're right, 100%. I actually think that it's really interesting knowing that she's an actress from a thing, because part of me almost thought, was she maybe just a voice actor? Because she's the voice of Bo-Katan in Clone Wars and her brief appearance in Rebels. So I thought maybe that she'd be a voice actor. Because I felt like when she had the mask on, I'm like, maybe I'm buying it more because just seeing Mandalorian masks, I'm kind of on board with it. And I felt like when she took the mask off for that bit and the other bit, it was a bit like, oh, I'm a bit nervous, I'm wearing my wig so I look like my character. Also, fucking everyone Google what she looks like or just watch the Clone Wars eppies. I mean, I don't want to criticize someone for looking great for their age, but she looks too good for her age. I'm pretty sure she should be 50-ish, because it's 25 years later since Clone Wars.
How old was she in the Clone Wars?
Not 7. Young. Not 7 years old. She's 20, 30.
Well, it's
20 and 30 is a big difference, but 20. You'd have to say at least 20.
She could go
for me.
She's 40. It's been about 20 years.
Yeah, really. She looks really young to me, 25, 30.
I think she is nearing 40.
Okay.
I mean, Battlestar was early 2000.
So I apologize. She just looks great for her. She just looks great for her age, and they put more makeup on. She looks even better. I guess that's my issue. She looks too good for her age.
Having not seen this character's face in the Clone Wars, but just having seen images on the internet, I thought that she also bore a pretty decent resemblance to the character.
They look the same!
Yeah,
it blew me in a way that I found out it was the same voice actor. That was just... Yeah. I was like, what are the chances?
I know that fans were disappointed that the voice actor for Ahsoka wasn't being brought into the live action role. And then seeing a photo of her in real life, I was like, oh, well, she is actually quite attractive and would fit the role, presumably.
She looks kind of similar?
Yeah, well, I
mean, they're going to put on orange paint and there's...
I don't know if she's ever done any live action performance. Maybe that was it. Maybe that... if you've got Starbuck from Battlestar who's already proven herself... But whereas this lady who does Ahsoka might just be a voice actor, and maybe not. I could be wrong.
I don't know if you'd give someone their first role ever as Ahsoka, just because I know I'm going to be so critical. They better... when Ahsoka Tano rocks up, I know we said we don't want it to be like Last Jedi, and I agree. But fuck, when she rocks up, I'm expecting Luke on the cliff giving the most acting, just I'm expecting. I don't know, man.
She's
a big character. She's like.
I would kind of just like if it wasn't a big deal and he just arrived on this planet and she's just living in a community with people and like being a normal fucking person, like the Jedi never seemed to be. They're always like, go into hiding. Everyone wants to kill me, and then they end up in a cave somewhere miserable their whole life. Like, it would be good to see one person who was like, fuck the Jedi, actually lead a happy existence.
Yeah. I think she's gonna be like
miserable in
a forest cave. Yeah,
sure.
Being like, look at my white robes. They're kind of grey coloured.
In a big mushroom with a window, or some shit.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, be miserable. Any more thoughts?
Nah, I think that's pretty much it. Great epi. I think that if anyone's watching and they're like, that character was pretty cool, but fuck the Clone Wars, there's too many episodes. Season 4, episode 14, it's a one episode. Season 5, episode 14, 15, 16, 3-episode part. Spectacular.
And I hate the Clone Wars for the most part. I've seen bits and pieces from all around. I watched season 4, episode 14 from your recommendation. I thought that it almost immediately lost me, but then almost kind of started pulling me back in. But wait, because this is something that ties into The Mandalorian as well. And they're kind of flipped on each other. The Clone Wars has an incredible sense of vision and scale and scope and big ideas and wonderful cultures and enormous, visually stunning vistas, but it is unfortunately blocked and shot by someone who does not have a very cinematic mind to my preferences. Mm-hmm. And I feel like while the worlds I'm seeing are wonderful and amazingly thought out, what you're actually doing with the camera and the visuals and the lighting and things like that is leaving a lot to be desired. Go to The Mandalorian, it's the complete reverse. It's a little uninspired and a little I've seen all this before, but it's beautiful. And the lighting's incredible and the technical specifications are 100%. If we could get these two things to come together and get something as incredible as, say, like just the big Mandalorian city at the start of the episode, big blue buildings and amazing architecture and things like that the prequels, I think, really captured well, that we haven't seen a lot of since.
Clone Wars is very prequels in that big world.
Where it's leaning into the big ideas, big visuals,
and I'm
big
telling
cultures.
You, some of the stories, like there's a 3-parter that's so bonkers with its religious religious is the wrong word, but I couldn't even tell you. It's bonkers.
Just to finish my thoughts on this episode, though,
yeah.
I thought that what it did was it established itself as a good standalone story, and it ended up kind of winning me back over in the end, because they showed a bit of restraint. I watched Ahsoka kind of take the back foot and actually look at what was going on in the situation and play her cards right and fight when she needed to fight.
Great
and actually
character.
Built to, at the end of the episode, a point at which someone pulls a darksaber out and I go, oh, there's a Jedi here. Oh, they're going to throw down. Oh, they've actually waited to do it, because so many parts of the Clone Wars I've seen is just endless 10-minute fights with just monotonous, boring, flat, shitty, like CGI animation sword fights that I just could not give a fuck about. So like the actual fight that occurred in this episode wasn't particularly magnificent, but the fact they built to it and made me feel something when it started, and I was slightly invested, I was like, oh, it's doing something I've not seen the show do yet, which is actually kind of just the bare minimum. So there's a part of me going, is it good, or am I just being forgiving because it's doing some things I like? I'll watch some more. It got me in the door.
You should just watch the last 4 episodes of season 7, because Bo-Katan appears in all of them, and they're terrible if you look at them as the last 4 episodes of the show.
I think I'm just going to watch all the Mandalorian stuff.
Well, the Mandalorians appear in these 4 because it's Maul and stuff. So watch season 5, episode 14, 15, 16, then go straight to the next Bo-Katan, which is the final 4 episodes of season 7, and it's just a standalone 4 episodes. And if you look at it like the finale of the show, terrible. If you look at it as just a standalone episode, pretty good. But immediately those 4 episodes, and I see why people online like them, it's my rewatch. I hate it the first time because no Vader and Ahsoka. So what have you done? How did you ruin the show where you don't have that confrontation? Oh, you blew it in a terrible other series. But as a thing with it's just her and Maul dealing with the situation, There's fights and action set pieces and everything you're saying. Like, oh, there's moments where it's like close-ups of lightsabers being lit and, you know, it spins around and like it's doing stuff. And there's a fight where they both fight and it's spectacular. There's no stakes because we know where they're both in Rebels.
Exactly.
But if you just look at it, like a 4-episode, like I just watched it, 1, 3, then these 4-parter, and I was like, messaging my brother, and he's like, "You're a fucking cunt. How can you like this? It's terrible." I'm like, just as 4 episodes, and it's shot better, it looks better, and it's doing all the cinematic stuff.
I saw the clips of, and I watched the first episode of season 7, and I could see that.
No.
I can see the visuals have come a long way, and I've seen the Ahsoka Darth Maul fight, and I saw the motion capture stuff, and I saw that stunt woman. Who's in lots of stuff, and I saw Ray Park, and I saw it all, and it looks great, and sure, but
it is more kind of inspired than a lot of the other stuff. But a lot of the other stuff has like this first episode of season 5 has Maul and Obi-Wan fight, and it's a spectacular 10 minutes where it's them, there's pirates, there's this, there's that, and there's just so much going on that if you're in the world, it's spectacular stuff. But that being said,
it's just what so much of the show is: 2 characters who we know will reach no conclusion, hitting each other with sticks.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it is a
that's not what happens in real Star Wars. In real Star Wars, when 2 people with laser swords walk into a room, they're not both walking out. And that happens maybe 1 time. And then in the next episode, it gets dealt with. And there's a big, you know, like, if it happens, it comes with stakes. And it's like, they spent 7 seasons of a show just throwing 2 characters in a room that don't have any potential to go anywhere and reach a fitting conclusion, and now we got to watch General Grievous fight fucking nonsense character number Plo Koon, who we know is going to get killed by... I don't care! I don't fucking care! Why don't you use another Jedi who I don't know about and tell an interesting story? And that's what they end up doing with Ahsoka, and that's why people think that's the strongest stuff in the show, I think, because she's the only character they could do anything with, because everything else was set in stone. And here we get here's a character we can build an arc with, and Maul killed off. We can build an arc because there's nothing here.
But Ahsoka works for me because it enriches Anakin. Like Anakin turning on the Jedi. It's like, well, because his fucking apprentice got dogged by the Jedi. And there's those things that I think really work. And him and Obi-Wan's emotional connection, I love them only because of the Clone Wars and all their interactions. Because every episode, they're just quipping. They're just buddies quipping. Like the best part in Clone Wars, then the final 4 episodes, there's like 3 minutes, and Anakin and Obi-Wan get a little quip, and I was sitting there being like, oh my god, it's so good. But yeah, you know, 2 different sides of a string, or whatever that saying is, right? We're on 2 different sides of a highway. No, I'm botching. I was doing a bit.
Those things are saying.
I couldn't think of other bad analogy things. It's like, we're both holding a coffee cup, and one of us has got a... No.
Good save.
And that is the end of our episode discussion about Clone Wars.
Follow us on Instagram at Spoiler Talk. Follow BlackRock Broadcasting at BR Broadcast on Twitter, or BlackRock Broadcasting on Instagram and Facebook.
And join us next week for episode 4. Potentially, Ahsoka Tano will be in it.
Yes.
But I think we're not going to get her next.
I would say just lean on the side of caution. Go into this episode under the assumption that we will not even get up to her, and that we will have a adventure in the middle, so there's no disappointment. And then we can only be pleasantly surprised. Spoiler Talk is produced by KCBN Studios and Space Kraken Media.